Let me start off by saying that when we originally scheduled these sessions, we know that the best practices sessions, we have them every year for updates. We probably could have done this in an hour, but I asked for it to be extended. So I'm not necessarily expecting it to be the 2 full hours. I just wanted to make sure we had enough time to hear from our colleagues and didn't have to rush anything. So even though it's scheduled for the 2 hours, that's so everyone can be heard, everyone can offer their best practices or ask any questions. But I'm not necessarily anticipating that it'll take the full 2 hours.
Sweet.
This is going to be a little bit like remote learning. We're going to get a lot of 901 and 902 entries.
Yes, it's definitely growing.
So we are going to start off today with Christy and Tanner. So I'm going to hand it over to them. You may see a little bit of redundancy in my slideshow, but I think you'll find Christy's contact info there. And so they're going to start off, take all the time they need to answer all of your questions, and then we'll come back and we'll look at our slide deck.
Perfect. Now, while Tanner is talking, first of all, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Christy Dye. I'm the territory manager for the great state of North Carolina. Today, I have with me Tanner Morris. He is our Adobe product manager. And thank you, Dennis, for allowing us to join in on your session today. So I'm going to go ahead and put my contact information into the chat with my phone number and email. If there's any of you who need that to reach out to me at any point, I'm always glad to answer questions. I'm also going to include my onboarding team's phone number. If you can't reach me, they're an excellent resource and probably even know 10 times as much as I know. So, did I just say that out loud? The other thing too is that I am also going to add to the session resources for this session free access to some learning products demos for Adobe. And so watch that in session notes. And then I'll also put it in the chat here, just the demo codes and some quick instructions, but there'll be a full document that I can upload and add that if you guys are not certified, that you can go ahead and go through the course, go through the practice tests. And then if your school doesn't have Adobe certifications, then you can reach out to me. And I'm more than glad to give you free certification exams. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Tanner Morris.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy. It's great.
Christy, can I ask you a question first?
Yes.
Okay, since of COVID-19, I got a lot of exam vouchers I didn't use. Are they going to roll over or have to buy new ones in the fall?
Why don't you reach out to me and let's look at your exam dates and we can talk over that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Tanner.
Yeah, one thing to go with that and one kind of thing also to think about is, classroom bundle versus exam by exam. So with the classroom bundle, as long as you've given more than 26 in 12 months, it really saves you a lot of money to buy the classroom bundle over purchasing exam by exam. And so that's also one thing to take in consideration. But George, please reach out to me. I'm always glad to talk.
Okay.
All right.
Will do.
No problem.
All yours, my friend.
If you have questions, don't hesitate to jump in, right? That's why Christy and I are here. So I'm Tanner Morris. I love working with Christy. I missed coming out to North Carolina. I got to go out to your conference 2 years ago in person, and it was a blast. Great to meet many of you and just feel the energy and excitement there. So today I wanted to give you kind of some overview of some of the changes, what's going on with our Adobe certification program. Some of you may have heard that we're actually rebranding it. It's under a new name. And I want to give you details. I want to make sure that you're aware, you know what's going on. I'm going to be speaking to people that are already familiar with certification and people that are already familiar with Adobe. But if you've got more basic questions, don't hesitate to throw them out there. And then Christy and I are also available after the session or at another time to speak with you directly if that would help. So let me just jump in here. The very first thing that I want to mention is the rebrand. So Adobe Certified Professional. These are the same exams that you already know. They're under the same difficulty, just under a new name. We announced this last year, and we're very excited about it. When we started releasing live in the app or our LIDA exams, it marks a distinct change in the program. These new exams, they do a great job of mirroring a professional's workflow. And they really certify that students know professional level skills. This isn't a change to the exams themselves. This is a change of the program name that aligns with what we're seeing in the market. So all of the Adobe LIDA exams, starting with the ones we released in 2018, will be rebranded to point to Adobe Certified Professional. So anyone who has earned a certification using a LIDA exam will automatically get a new certificate and a new digital badge. So you teachers that have already earned it, you probably already have your certificate in your transcript if you log in at certiport.com. You'll also be getting an email here shortly with a new badge that has that Adobe Certified Professional name on it. And then these are some special badges. This is another exciting part of the rebrand. It's the change to our specialty credentials program. So last year, we simplified the program. Instead of requiring 3 exams, we now have 1 anchor exam for each credential, and candidates get to pick the other one they'll take. So we hope this change frees up you teachers to focus on specific skills and let students dig deeper into 2 titles instead of just getting a surface level knowledge of all 3. And we were talking before the session started, Dennis hinted that InDesign's moving to year 2, so that's going to help, or level 2. So it's going to help where students can finish that credential in the first year, right? They can take Photoshop and Illustrator, and they can earn that Adobe Certified Professional in visual design credential. So these are available now, and anyone can earn them using our live in the app exams right now. Next up, let me just give you a quick view of where we're at right now on the exams. So separate from the program rebrand, we are also releasing 2021 exams for this new school year. They'll all be available for the start of the new school year. We've taken the opportunity to refresh the objective domains for these exams, but they aren't significant changes, and they still point to the same certifications. I'll dig into that some more on those changes in just a second here. So that's kind of a view of where we're at right now. So if you want to take the newest, latest, and greatest, Photoshop 2021 exam, that's Photoshop version 2020 or 22.x is kind of what they call that major version. And that exam is available now. It's been out for a month. And then we've got Premiere Pro and After Effects and Dreamweaver. Those are coming in August. They'll be available at the beginning of August. So for the new school year, if you've got anyone who's using those newer versions, I know this is focused on visual, but you might also be dabbling into the video in other areas. So there's that. Okay, let me give you a detailed view of the exam objectives. They are different, the new 2021 exams, but let me dig in to help you feel a little bit more comfortable about the changes. First, let me say, anyone who has taken one of the LIDA exams will feel at home in the new 2021 exams. Even though there are changes to the objective domains, the work we did a few years ago to set us up for success in LIDA is still very much there. The format of the exam, where we start with multiple choice questions and we transition to projects, that remains the same. We didn't change that. And because the majority of the objective domains are the same, we're going to be asking similar questions and presenting similar projects. Let me give you 2 concrete examples of changes to the objective domains, one in Photoshop and another in Illustrator. So here's a view of the Photoshop objective domain. So at the top, that's the objective domain for the 2020 exam. It was the same for 2018 and 2019 as well. So there's one specific section in project setup and interface. And as you dig down into 2.5b, right, under the old exam, there was a requirement to create and customize gradients. In the new exam, Adobe added a new feature to the 2021 Photoshop software. And it's the ability to organize gradients. So we've added that here. It's an important concept that someone who's passing this exam should be familiar with, right? It fits with the flow already. When you're teaching about gradients, it's right there. It's something that you'd be mentioning, right? So I hope that this isn't too much of a curveball. It's just kind of right there, ready for you, easy to apply. So you'll notice that it's largely the same. We're just reflecting a new feature from Adobe in that one highlighted point there. Here's an example from Illustrator. So again, the 2020 objective domain up above, 2021 down below. In this case, under the key concepts, right, we talk about being able to save as, a .ai file format, right? And one of the key concepts, this isn't something that's new in the software. You've been able to save as a cloud document for a couple of years now. But what is new is that it's becoming more and more of a trend in the design industry. So this is just a save option. That's an important thing that candidates become aware of and become familiar with. So I hope that you see that these are not massive changes, right? There are similar minor changes in the objective domains for the other exams as well. Nothing earth-shattering, just some updates to make sure the exams will still be relevant in the years to come, right? We want to make sure that if someone's certified in Photoshop or someone's certified in Illustrator, when they go out to the job market, people see, oh yeah, they really do have the skills. So that's kind of what it's all about. If you want to dig in more to those objective domains, you can hit our website, certiport.com/ODS, certiport.com/ODs, and you can see there in great detail, compare the 2018 or the 2020 objective domains to the new 2021s and get a sense of what's going on there. But if you have other questions about it, don't hesitate to ask in the chat. We can get into it as well. Last, I want to show you kind of an overview of our upcoming conferences. So we just held our certified conference in June, and it was an amazing event. If you didn't get a chance to attend, you can watch recordings from all of the sessions at certified.certiport.com. Certified is where we hold our national championship for Adobe Certified Professional students. You can learn more about the competition for next year at acachampionship.com. It doesn't take a lot, right? If the student has earned a certification in Photoshop, Illustrator, or InDesign, they're halfway there. All they need to do after that is submit a project for us to review. It's really simple, and it can be a part of your curriculum anyway to have them participate in it. And we'd love to have North Carolina represented there. And it's an awesome event to just really highlight what students can do. And then the Adobe for Education Summit is just around the corner, just next week. These are great free opportunities to engage with fellow educators, to learn something new, or to hone your craft. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to that bit.ly link. I've also made this presentation available for download. If you're looking at my screen there, you can hit that download button in the bottom left if you want any of this information. Okay, that is all that I wanted to cover. I want to open it up for questions now. I see George is asking, has G-Metrix updated to support the Adobe 2021 exams? Yes, they have. They have Photoshop and Illustrator out right now. They also have InDesign out. They're working on some of those other titles. But yes, everything is available right now for 2021 for what you need for this purpose. I see Christy responded there. Thanks, Christy.
Yes, and one thing to take note there, as we release the exams, then that is when G-Metrix updates their cert prep practice tests. So they're just mirroring what we have. They have, if you go to certiport.com/products, you'll always see the latest and greatest exams that we've released and the exams or the practice tests that G-Metrix has released. So I'll go ahead and, oh, thank you, Tanner. I was just gonna put that in there. So you just have to click on the specific product, but that's a great link to bookmark. Okay, Deborah has a question. Is G-Metrix up to date with 2021?
Yeah, they are. So they do have new practice tests that work with Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign in 2021. And they're working on the rest of them because we haven't released the rest of those exams yet. But yep, they are up to date. I see a question from Michael asking about Big Sur. So Big Sur is not supported right now for Compass. So our testing platform does not yet support Big Sur. We're working on that. I don't have a date from our systems team yet on that. I know that there are also some concerns with Big Sur and Adobe's products themselves. And maybe it's just the new M1 processors that I'm hearing about. So I don't know, Michael, if your lab is kind of state of the art on hardware or if it's just running the new OS, but some things to look into as well. If you're already on Big Sur, you've got some options. If we don't have support for Big Sur by the time that you're getting around to doing testing in Compass, you definitely can use exams from home. So we can walk you through that and help you set up that way. So we've got a couple different options for you this year. Some perks of the pandemic.
Perfect, Tanner. And I went ahead and put the link to the product technical requirements. That's also another great one, because as soon as we have support for those, then they will be updated on that page.
And then Deborah asked about Brain Buffet. I don't know offhand on that one, Christy. Do you know if Brain Buffet is updated for 2021?
Yeah, I can speak somewhat to that. So Rob is consistent and team are consistently doing updates. If you have Brain Buffet on the Geometrics platform, I would say no. But if you access your Brain Buffet at www.brainbuffet.com or whatever their full URL is right now, they can update those videos on the fly a lot faster than they can update them through Geometrics. And that's why I try to guide so many of you to getting it right on the Brain Buffet platform, because whenever there's a significant enough change, then Rob and team record the videos that talk about all of those changes.
Yep, and Rob and his team, he actually participated in helping us to create the new 2021 exam. He's very much involved in the details. He knows about all the changes. I'm just not positive if he's going to make those updates yet. But Christy's absolutely right that their platform's fabulous, that they are really good about updating content there.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and put their email address that you can actually email Brain Buffet and ask them that question.
Michael has a follow-up. Can you do the exams from home version while at school? The answer is yes, Michael. We prefer that if you're in your test lab, that you use that local installation, because it's a much better experience not having to work through a virtual machine. But in your specific situation, if you've got an OS that isn't supported, absolutely. So the same way that you would give links to your students at home, you can give them to your students in the classroom, and they can sit down, and instead of using what's locally installed on those computers, they can access our testing platform through a web browser. So it works just the same as if they were at home, but they can be in your classroom instead. And if you need more help with that, Michael, you can reach out. I actually do a lot of training on exams from home. I'm happy to walk you through that. I'll put my email in the chat as well in case you have other questions. I'm happy to help you there.
And just to add to that, if there's anyone who didn't get a chance to attend an exams from home training last year, actually Tanner hosts those every Tuesday. For the summer, there hasn't been very many people attending, so we have put them on pause for the summer. But Tanner, when do those restart again?
We're going to pick them up again in a month. So mid-August is when I'm going to start them up again. And there's details. If you log in on Certiport.com as an organization member, in the sidebar, there's a link that has the schedule and all the details about when and where you can join.
Okay, I'll try to post that link here while we're answering questions then. Just to add a little bit more about exams from home before we leave that topic, I wanted to talk a little bit about benefits of testing on Compass versus exams from home, just to kind of give you a pro and con in case you're new to giving certifications or didn't get a chance to use either one or the other. So I think the go-to first choice is always using Compass in your classroom, for the biggest reason being that you can test your students when you want to test them. So for example, if your class starts at 9:15, there's not a testing spot at 9:15 on exams from home. They're on the hour because they're virtual machines that are used and then have to be wiped. And so your students have to be logged into those virtual machines by a certain time to be able to finish those exams. And so if your class schedule doesn't line up, then definitely Compass is the best choice for you. But if you are one of the teachers that are teaching at the virtual high school and you don't have your students there face to face, or if you are running into technical issues and you know, I know how hard it is for you guys to get your tech support staff to get their time and attention because they're spread so thin. Always look at exams from home as a great alternative, even if you have to sort of adjust your student schedules. And then there was one more important thing there. Did I miss anything on that, Tanner, that you can think
Nope.
of?
That sounds
Oh,
good.
okay, I actually just realized what it is. Okay, so exams from home, because there are virtual machines that we rent to be able to offer this, you'll want to schedule those as far out as you can when you know that testing date. And the reason being is because, you know, there's a limited number of spots. Granted, when we have a lot of people using them, we do add more, especially for those peak testing periods. But I like to see my people getting first choice of spots. So if you're using exams from home, go ahead and schedule it. Now, if you have scheduled it, you know, a long ways in advance, and all of a sudden, hey, we're going to use Compass, or hey, this date doesn't work, be sure to save that email confirmation that you got so that you can cancel those, because when you're not going to use those, that will open spots for teachers who may not have been able to plan in advance, or maybe teachers who are trying to do a retake for their students. So, all righty. Thank you. I'll speak to Beth's, and I'm sorry if I missed any while I was talking. Yeah, Gmetrics did run into a lot of issues this year. It was like every school was new for them because they were having to rewrite every single one of their exams to work on a virtual platform. Gmetrics is now finally caught up. They finally have all of that taken care of. I know for a while there, like sometimes I would have to call them multiple times in a row, you know, and to try to get through to them. Now I'm getting through on the first or second try every time now. They've actually introduced an incident tracking system now that you can actually log into your Gmetrics account and open a tech support incident with them. They've added additional staff. So they're back to the Gmetrics that we all know and love. And so I feel like if you're having technical issues now, reach out to them today and just make sure you have everything running smoothly, because they're definitely caught up and up to speed. So
I'll speak to one small problem we have in our LEA with Gmetrics is the download is about 240 megs, and the space that they allow to students is very restrictive. And so oftentimes for me, the problem is their space is filled, it's redlined, and then that's where a lot of the problems come. So make sure that's a first starting point. Talk with your tech services. I know ours was able to expand the amount of student space for our particular classes. Make sure the students are managing their storage, but that's the one issue that we consistently run into is the size of the download is larger than the available space to be downloaded to.
okay, I will pass that on to Gmetrics and see if there's anything that they can do. I know that the files that they have you download, that's what you're talking about, is the files that go with the practice tests. Is that correct?
Yeah, Christy, and I'm asking people to make sure they start with their LEA tech department to make sure that it's not, I don't think that's a Gmetrics issue. I think that's a local issue. And so that's a good place to start, is making sure that there's enough space for not only the download, but for the software that needs to run with Gmetrics.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I think that's smart to start with them first. Tanner, are you seeing any questions that I missed? I can see that you're answering some in the chat there.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of questions about geometrics, and maybe we need to do a little more follow-up. I took one of Odetta's questions and reached out to geometric support directly. And then I'm also seeing a common thread of teachers that are new to this. We're speaking at too much in the details, that they needed a higher level overview. One thing that I would like to recommend there was an awesome presentation at our certified conference that you can watch for free. And I'll link to it in the chat. There's a teacher who showed all of her resources, and she actually shared everything that she uses in her classroom to guide her students to passing the Photoshop exam. So it was kind of here's my entire approach, here's everything that I do, here's all of my resources, here's how I plan out my entire course. And it was very, very helpful just to hear her approach, and then that she even shared her resources on top. It might not be things that you want to use in your classroom, but to see hands-on how another teacher does it, it was enlightening for me. So I'll definitely link to that in the chat here. Let me just go find a direct link to it in a second. Christy, do you have other guidance or insight that you want to give to those new teachers who are just trying to figure this out?
Yes, absolutely. On the certification exam side, I've actually created a step-by-step guide, and I'll post it to this session resources. In my step-by-step guide, I cover whether you're using Compass or whether you're using exams from home. I give you both options. I cover geometrics practice tests, but most importantly, I also give you links to where you can get training or phone numbers to call to get live help. We have an awesome onboarding team that you can call Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 Eastern. And they're just standing by, waiting for your questions. And whether it's, hey, how do I get myself added to my certiport.com account? How do I create one? How do I run a 264 plus report? How do I become a proctor? Where do I go to schedule Certiport exams from home? Any of those questions, they're just standing by waiting to help out. But also this guide that I'll post to the session resources is also one you might want to download and take. Just because, I mean, I think about, like, for example, like with geometrics, you guys have the 30 seats, most of you, some of you have campus licenses with more, but you only create those codes once a year. So sometimes it's hard to remember what you did the last time. So it's kind of great to have that resource guide to go to. Thank you. Oh.
I was going to say, do we have any more questions that are specific to our Pearson Certiport reps? We still have a whole presentation on some of the nuts and bolts and options of way for you to perhaps approach the course, but anything specific to their platforms?
Wanda did have a question or a comment specific to LearnKey, and she talked about how it was a lifesaver for her last year with her students only in face-to-face 2 days a week. And I just wanted to let you know that I do have LearnKey 30-day demos for anyone. I also have practice test demos for Geometric Cert Prep for Adobe. And then I also have a link that you can go to get ACA Test Prep if you haven't demoed Brain Buffet's new platform with all of their new resources. And they're just-in-time questions that they have added to their Brain Buffet platform release. Oh, thank you, Tanner. That Certiport certified link is now in the chat. And like Tanner said, that's amazing. That teacher was so helpful.
And there are so many other useful sessions in there as well, like just some basics of how to implement certification in the classroom. And it's not going to be North Carolina specific things. So I definitely say go to your local resources first. But there are so many good ideas from teachers all across the nation, just sharing. It's a great resource, and you can go and review any of that recorded content for free.
Yes, and I'm going to go ahead and include the link to our training that we host weekly for new teachers who are just new to giving Certiport exams, and I'll put that in the link here also. This also includes some pre-recorded trainings too. So if you're, bored one night and you just want to watch a training, then you're new, you don't have to wait for a live session. All right, perfect. Anything else for me or Tanner?
I will say that, we have 115 LEAs in 100 different locations in North Carolina. And all of the local tech departments handle things differently. So we know that with the technical nature of the course and the resources that we have, there are going to be issues. And I've known Christy for a long time now and Tanner for a short while, but I will say that if you reach out, I've never met people that were more interested in solving those problems. So you have to expect that there's going to be glitches, and you just have to try to put in the work to get that answered. But they really do care.
I don't know if you all heard Dennis and I talking when you were joining, but Dennis was the very first Adobe teacher I ever met 8 years ago when I took this job. So he would know. Okay, so I've just posted the Learn Key demo in the chat, and I'm also going to post Geometrics Cert Prep for Adobe in the chat. George, yes, I love you too. Okay, so now the Geometrics one is in there also. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, everyone. I see so many names that I know in this chat, so many amazing teachers, and so many teachers who have gone so far above and beyond to help their students get certified. And so you guys are amazing, and I just feel so honored to be able to represent North Carolina at Certiport. Any other questions before we head out? Oh, I agree. Topsail Island, amen. I have a shirt that reminds me of that. Awesome. Okay. Well, Dennis, if I don't know if I add my documents here, if they'll be able to post them from pull it. I think I just need to email them to Daniel, right?
I would imagine Danielle's the place to go.
Okay. All right. I will go ahead and do that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thanks again, everyone. Have a good day.
Kelly, I'm not sure if those resources will be available. It might be great to just pull out your cell phone real quick and just take a picture of those demo codes and links. But you can also always email me and just put Adobe demo in the subject, and I'll just respond really quick with those and get them out to you today.
In the very top of the chat window, there's 3 dots. If you click on those, you've got the option to save the entire transcript.
Oh, that's nice. So chat and then chat options. Oh, I see that.
Yeah, so I don't know for sure if it'll be saved after, but you can save everything that Christy and I have shared there for sure.
Tanner, you're amazing. Thank you. Dennis, you're amazing. You got this. We're out.
Do one of you have to pass the presenter back to me?
Uh,
There we
I
go.
just-
We got it.
Dennis.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, have a good one.
okay, thank you.
All right. So I think from the questions that are being asked, we can see that generally we have sort of two categories of people here, right? People that have been around a while, and then people that are saying, what does all this mean? And so I'm going to share my screen because I think it's the only way I can get the links to work. And therefore I won't be able to see the chat. So if there are questions, jump in, and George is going to try to monitor as well. But there's no issues with interrupting. This presentation hasn't changed that much from last year, but for those of you that are new, hopefully it will provide you with some information to fill in those gaps. All right. And I'm hoping that you can see my slide deck for Adobe Visual Design. Can someone on mic and let me know that you can see that?
Yeah,
Yes, we can see it. Can you put it in presentation?
All right. Thank you. So I'm Dennis Perks, and I am an Adobe teacher. I do not purport to be anything more than any of y'all out there. I just happen to be someone who was around when this came into pilot back in the beginning. I was able to go downtown for a few years and work at DPI with the consultants who manage the courses. And so I'm still sort of connected in some ways. So they asked me to do this, and I'm happy to do it. And so we're going to go through what I have. Again, for those of you that are newer, it may not be anything that's a revelation, but you can certainly help by adding to anything that might help. So those of you that experience can add to help for the newer people. So, and this link to this presentation, the presentation will be available after the session, and all of the links that are in here. So feel free to jump in at any time. As I said, we got plenty of time, but we do not need to use it all. All right. So first things first. Course sequencing. And this is always a very vigorous debate when we have access to our DPI people. But as it sits right now, right, we know that Adobe Visual Design is the level 1 course or the prerequisite, right? And then after that, it's Adobe Digital or Adobe Video. Okay. And I see tons of comments all the time about, well, when are we going to get some flexibility here? Because it used to be Adobe Visual, Adobe Digital, Adobe Video, and everyone was like, having to take digital is killing my video kids, or why do they have to take visual before video? It doesn't really have prerequisite skills. They're different softwares. And, all of that being said, ours is not to reason why on that. Ours is to understand what is here. And then if you get the chance to work locally, you can try to do that. Right now, visual is level 1, and then we have digital or video for level 2. And then certainly they could take that third course, either digital or video. And then we have our work-based learnings, right? Our advanced studies or our apprenticeship, our internship. So in theory, right now, a student can take 4 levels of course with you: visual, digital, video, and then advanced studies or some sort of work-based learning.
Dennis, can you put it in present mode, please?
You can't see my screen?
You're not in present mode.
Yeah, I don't want to be in present. I don't want to be in present mode.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
If I go into present mode, the links, I don't think the links will function for this platform. So we're going to try to see if we can do it this way. It used to be 3 courses were a concentrator. Now 2 courses are a concentrator. That is important because that is one of the things that is tracked through Perkins funding, right, to help us show that we are giving these kids some experience in a specific pathway. Now 3 courses are called a major. And then there was this new thing that came out last year called NC Academic Scholar, which means you have 4 courses in one area And then there are some additional requirements there. You can talk to your CDC about that if you need to, your career development coordinator. But if you have 4 courses and a certain GPA and you've taken these certain other core courses, you can get that NC Academic Scholar on your diploma. So any questions on sequencing? So the big question is, well, when is this going to change? Here's the 2 sides of the coin that have been in the past. We need a more foundational course because our kids can't go right into Adobe Visual, and 3 software programs is very difficult to complete. And so where's our course for those kids that are struggling? And then the other ones are, well, our kids are able to jump right in. We need a level 2 course so that we don't lose them after the first year. And if anyone attended summer, the opening session, you know that the goal for not this year, perhaps next year, is to solve both of those questions, right? So one of the things that is on the list of things to do, excuse me, is to reinvent MAUD, right? And it is going to be, it's going to be called Creative Design Fundamentals. If you don't know what MAUD is, it's Multimedia and Web Page Design. It predated all of the Adobe classes. And it basically was, you went through all of the software in one semester, right? Print, Photoshop, Illustrator, audio, video, animation, web page design. And when the Adobe courses came out and MAUD was redesigned, it was designed to align perfectly vertically up. Objective 1 and 2 aligned to visual, Objective 3 aligned to video, and Objective 4 aligned to the digital. So they are looking to bring that back and add that into that supplemental category. Not a prerequisite, right? But something you can offer, and in particular at the freshman level, it usually works very well. That would give them a much smaller version of all of these pieces of software. And then the other thing that they are looking to do is to take each one of these and separate it out into its own pathway, where you would have Visual Design 1, Visual Design 2, Digital 1, Digital 2, Video 1, and Video 2. And as you'll see when we get to the blueprint, for visual, which I think many may have felt was the most challenging because it had 3 pieces of software in there and 3 credentials, right? They've already changed. And for the upcoming year, it's going to be Photoshop and Illustrator are going to be the credentials. And then you'll see there's a little bit of InDesign at the end, which is designed to help prepare for the level 2 course. I'm sorry, we've had a little head cold running through the family, and I'm a little dry. So does anyone have any questions on the sequencing, or does everyone understand what the goal is going to be for the 2022, 2023, and beyond? Questions, comments? All right, I think it's a solution that helps to satisfy all concerns that have been aired in the past, right? You can have a foundational course if you feel like it benefits you locally, and then you can eventually have students take as many as 8 courses in this pathway, including all the level 2 courses. All right. If I don't hear any questions, for those of you that are new, the answer is PD. Right. One of the biggest challenges is getting your skill set up to the point where you feel like you have command of the content, and it does take time. So for PD, you have options, right? You can go out and you can find some paid courses, community college courses. Here is one that a couple of our colleagues have started their own company to help train, and the individuals involved with this have been conducting this training since before Adobe even existed. There were certain digital media academies, and so I know at least one of the people was one of the trainers before they changed the licensing requirements. So they're Red Wolf Digital Media. I know that this particular course is aimed at visual design. I don't have the outline of the content that is in there, but this is available for you if you wish to explore that as an option, right? Red Wolf. They're trying to fill a need. Okay. For me, one of the fastest ways for me to get my learning curve up is to use the Adobe Help X stuff. So whatever you're teaching, whatever software you're teaching, if you search for Adobe Help X Photoshop, Adobe Help X Illustrator, Premiere Pro, this is the Adobe site. And generally, you'll get three things on there. You'll get the manual, right? You'll get some technical support. But then one of the pages says Learn. And these are a really great collection of well-made videos. Sometimes you go out and you just start searching and you get a lot of really random stuff. But this is really put together well. And you'll see a lot of different categories, right? Here's Get Started, Photoshop on your iPad, edit photos, quick start tutorials, beginner selections, right? You can even go up and you can change to an experienced user. And so for me to learn, and this is more so with the video class because I've been working with Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign much longer, they are a great set of resources. Oftentimes, if you go in, you'll find that they provide you with the source files. So this is also, other than Teacher PD, you can go and find some of these, and this could be something that you establish one day a week in your class where they come in, right, and they work through the tutorials. So Adobe Help X for me, and again, even more so in the video class, has been an incredible collection, one-stop shop for upping my skills and for helping the students. One of the things they asked me to do was to do some on-demand videos. This year, the 3 videos I did were for Adobe Video, but if you go back and you can, I believe they've reposted last year's, plus there's a link here out to all of the on-demand sessions. You'll find some videos that I made that are specific to a skill, but then wrap into a project. So for example, under Illustrator, right? This was the first one working with line. Oh, I'm on my link's not gonna work. All right, I'm gonna have to jump out there and fix that. But this goes through working with lines and basic shapes, and then it wraps it into a line art postcard for Adobe Illustrator. So each one of these is for a specific skill, but also has a project that my students do as well. And for this year, I did Premiere Pro Bootcamp Part 1 and 2 and a little R-Town. So if you're teaching video, the bootcamp is what I do in the beginning of the semester to try to give a complete overview of video workflow from start to finish. So you can check those out. And then there are some free courses listed down here as well. I went through the Illustrator one, and they're not extremely long, right? But they're available. I think the point here is if you don't have the skills, you really have to go out there and attack it. And if you feel comfortable with the software, that's 80% of the battle with these courses. All right. Any questions on that? All right, curriculum options, and this was one of the things that had come up. And I also think this is one of the more nebulous things because this is one of those classes where you don't have, for Objective 1.0, these are the activities that you do, and these are the days that you do it on. I particularly enjoy that there is room to customize this to your school or your LEA. But the options that are available, here's the link out to the Adobe Visual Design Foundations. This is on the Adobe Ed Exchange. So it will likely require you to log in. But this is where it all started, right? There are 3 curriculums from Adobe, and all of these guides and technical guides that are associated with them. So they go photo collage, right? Logo, business card, ad, portfolios, brochures, newsletters, mini yearbook. So if you're referring to the actual original Adobe curriculum, this is what you're talking about. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it is possible that over the years, a lot of people have started here, but I would be willing to bet that they migrated towards something else, because there's a lot of info here, but I don't feel like you get the quantity of projects, and then it flows back and forth among software. So it's not necessarily in a linear fashion. So that's where the actual Adobe curriculum is. Then you have the Pearson Resources that Christy was.
One comment, Dennis. On the Adobe Exchange curriculum, there's a lot of 404 errors now.
Okay.
You try to open stuff.
And even when you look at the guides in there, they're very technical, a lot of step-by-step technical information. And so I personally find them a little clunky. And in the beginning, what I did was I said, okay, we need to do a photo collage. And I just took that and condensed it down into what I wanted to teach. And in the end, my photo collage project was more dynamic than the one that was in the Adobe curriculum. So I think it's a good starting point, but I'd be surprised if many of you out there are using this religiously. If you really want structure, the way to go is where Miss Christy and Tanner were just talking about, right? Pearson has some resources. There's a link out to them. And ACA Test Prep, which was formerly known as Brain Buffet, and LearnKey are the 2. And this is where you're getting unit by unit, step by step, really good structure with videos and project guides. What's the downside to this? It costs money, right? So you need to work with your school or director in order to purchase a subscription for these resources. So that, to me, would be the nice structured version. And, you know, you have a really good roadmap as an instructor on how to get from A to Z. And then the third, which is sort of what I do, is a bit of a hybrid model. I don't personally purchase the test prep or the LearnKey. I structure my own content, my own projects. It changes every semester, because I think that's one of the great things about the course is you're always evolving. And if you're running a hybrid, I'll use an example of Emily Scales and myself. We are co-PLT members, leaders for Wake County, but our teaching styles are very different. And so I included the link here to Emily's Weebly. If you are a new teacher, you really need to go in there and you need to take a look at Emily's stuff. Emily is a beast at creating content. And so let's go down to Illustrator, which is her favorite, and click on Intro to Illustrator. And you'll see when you're looking at a project, okay, you'll have a worksheet and a video, right? Worksheet and video, learning the pen tool. Here's the Illustrator file and a video, right? Basic shapes, right? File and video. So Emily loves to, she wants to see the students demonstrate all of these skills so that she understands that they understand the content. And she also has a YouTube page out there if you just search for Emily Scales YouTube. But if you want structure, right, and you want some concrete things that the students can use, Emily has a great collection of resources and videos and worksheets to go along with it, right? And you can see that there are various sections to each one. And then there's me. And, so I do a lot of open-ended projects where, we'll talk about blend modes. I'll demo blend modes. The kids will demo along with me, and then I'll have them do a specific project associated with blend modes, like a concert poster. And so I do that for a lot of the base skills, trying to add some other things in there. And then eventually I get them into larger projects where they're including all of those base skills, adjustment layers, blend modes, filters, whatever it is, layer styles. And so the biggest question for new teachers, I think, is what curriculum do I use? And that's my take on it. You have those choices to pick the one that fits your style the best. Is there any experienced teachers out there that would like to add on to what I said or put their suggestions forward?
I'm a geometrics guy myself. Geometrics class, Learn Key. I like the way it's structured. It came on very useful during COVID. I could go ahead and modify some things that my students need, they had Chromebooks. So if you go to the geometrics/Learn Key, geometrics is the test prep part of these website, and then Learn Key is the other part of it where you get your video lessons, your teacher workbook, your teacher data files, your student data files. Also with the teacher workbook, you also get the finished products the students should be turning in. And then geometrics is aligned to the ACA exam. So I've been enjoying geometrics for quite a number of years now. That's just my input.
So the curriculum option there is the Learn Key, right, or the Brain Buffet. And then the geometrics, which there's a link to on another slide, is the simulations that help you prepare for the credential. And I would be willing to bet that most experienced teachers out there would say the geometrics simulations are the most valuable thing to helping your kids pass the credentials, because the company that makes the exams and the company who makes the curriculum, or the company who makes the simulations, they're the same company, and the simulations are really targeted directly to the credentials. Anyone besides George want to chime in on the curriculum options?
And one more thing about geometrics, you can go in create your own custom test geometrics to align to what the students scored the lowest in. They did their first exam attempt. So if you look at exam report, you can see the different areas your students scored low in. Then you can join geometrics and do a custom review only for that particular student on the areas they scored low in.
And over the years, some in the credentials, some of it has gotten a bit more detailed. So that's a great feature to be able to target down on some of the nitty gritty.
I'd like to make a comment to the new teachers. For one, though, let me just start by saying, Dennis, you did a great job of organizing all this information. But I think from remembering what it was like to be a new teacher, so often it's a TMI. There's just so much information. I think also new teachers come from that background of, I need to learn all this stuff so I can teach it to my students. I think one of the wonderful things about our curriculum is that we're not necessarily teaching them step by step, tool by tool. We're learning those things ourselves as we go along, but we're facilitating their discovery. So many of these pieces that he's showing us are ways to point students in the right direction. And also you will find there will be students that get it and they make great peer tutors. That they're, instead of there's the famous phrase of ask three before you ask me, and that's usually it refers to ask three other students. But I like to tell students is like, ask yourself first. Just sit for a few minutes and think it through. If you still don't have it, then go ahead and ask someone else. And then your third one is just all the wonderful things that are available through the internet, through the web. You know,
Yep.
going back to the, Adobe itself, they know that these programs are complicated. And so they have done a great job over the last 10 years of really making user-friendly resources.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I frequently also find myself in the situation where if it does get to me and I can't do it, I tell them I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. And I'll either come back 10 minutes later or the next day. And then that's always an opportunity for you to learn that little thing. So absolutely, there's just it's sort of this journey, and you don't have to feel like you know everything. And there's we're going to get into one of my strategies with the Ask 3 before me, which is really, really key as well. Anything else on the curriculum options? I feel like this is probably the biggest questions happen. So I promise you the presentation will speed up. But
Dennis, I teach out at Ashley High School. This is my 4th year of teaching. I've got a YouTube link I can post in the chat that all of my videos that I did for COVID are on there. And it's like, I did it to flip the classroom kind of. So I'll throw that in the chat, but, and it's not much, but it's just enough to kind of get you started with some of these projects.
yeah, that's great. And that brings up another point and I feel like we fall short as a state on this. In Wake County, we've done very well because last year with the changes, we consolidated a lot of resources on our county Google pages. I threw out in the Moodle, hey, I'll be hosting this. If anyone wants to share, okay, share and I'll include. And there was only one reply on there, and it was more of a question about the curriculum. So don't be afraid to go out to the Moodle if you have a question or you need a resource and post it. And I think as a collective, we can get better at monitoring that Moodle. And then it's been a great statewide resource to help people to fill a gap or answer a question. So yeah, absolutely. I think we've all evolved during COVID. So put that link there and I'll look for it and try to add it on the end of this presentation as well.
And I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Remember the Adobe Academy website that Dr. Barber started way back in the day when Adobe was TNI? Is that still running around, or did it drop by the wayside?
So I don't think it is. I'll show you. I have some links out to where the new resources are. I think Mr. Barber used to point us out to the Adobe Ed Exchange.
Right.
And that's a great place to go as well. That's where we just saw the curriculum for visual design. But if you create an account here and you log in, you can search by software. And there's tons of additional resources out here. It used to be a little more clunky. Here's one, Adobe Illustrator and the Gestalt theory. So the Adobe Ed Exchange was a location that was frequently pointed to for curriculum ideas. And so that's also, it's one of those, it can be a bit of an ocean. You get lost in there. But if you search by software, it's a great resource as well. But I don't think that other existing one is still there. All right, here's our certification. This should be a review. You definitely want to try to get the classroom license bundle from Christy. And I believe if you went with the unlimited testing, it's somewhere around $2,500 to $3,000. And that sounds expensive, but if your LEA can support it, we're getting, I think, 500 user license for that price. And I think Geometrics was part of the bundle. So again, going back to what you really need for this course, you want to be able to credential, and you want that Geometrics in order to be able to practice. If I had to choose between the Learn Key and the Brain Buffet and this, I would choose this. If you can get both, that's great as well. But this is what actually allows you to prep for and take the credentials either in the classroom or remotely. As a reminder, last year, our state final exam disappeared. which was such a great gift. I was going to go into the school year and finally be free instead of a stiff like I've always been. So removing that state multiple choice test really frees you up to be a lot more creative. And so the proof of learning for the Adobe classes, and this one will be Photoshop and Illustrator this year. Last year it was Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, and InDesign's coming out. So now if the students get those 2 credentials and we have more time built in for it, that will be proof of learning for the class. There's no multiple choice state test for this. If they don't get proof of learning, you'll probably get some local guidance as to what they're supposed to do for the final. It could be a teacher project. It could be a teacher-made test. I believe those are local decisions that are being made. But if they get these 2, then they've satisfied the proof of learning / final state final exam requirements. All the new people good with that? All right, this is just a reminder that art classes, more than many others, are great for project-based learning. So if you get the chance, tie them to the real world, tie them over time, and of course, presenting is a big part of PBL. And we have a lot of local resources, right? So, you know, you can reach out to your CDC, your business alliance, and see if there's someone who wants some sort of semester-long project, right? They tell the students what they need, they provide feedback, and at the end, the students present. Local Chamber of Commerce, nonprofits, and various organizations. And last year during the COVID, I didn't get to go full PBL, but I did a good job of integrating local community stuff into my curriculum and making it more relevant. So one good example of that would be I reached out to the Durham Bulls and I was able to get them to provide some footage for me and some stills. And so, you know, my students in visual did these, you know, these high-end sort of hype posters. And then my video class, we did some hype videos, and the kids related really well to that. It didn't go quite as far as I wanted to because the Bulls were shut down as well, but it was a great start. Last night, I talked to someone who works for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I'm trying to get them to duplicate that, where they'll provide us with some footage and some images and some guidance, and then maybe they'll provide some tickets to whoever, you know, makes the best projects. So tie it to whatever you can locally, and in particular in the video class, it's very easy to do that as well. But it makes it much more relevant for the kids. All right, here's the new standards. The link is right there. These are now, all of the course guides have been digitized. So you'll have to log into the Moodle in order to see this link. But we can see that we have our Unit 1, which is sort of the non-software stuff, right? Audience needs, copyright, project management terms. Unit 2 is Photoshop, which is now listed as 42% of the class. This was previously 40, I think, maybe. I think InDesign was 45, 40, and Illustrator was only 15. So we can see for Illustrator, this has been raised to 35%, which is a significant increase over the previous blueprint. And then Unit 4, I heard some people describing this as supplemental. It's not necessarily supplemental. This is designed to give a teaser going into level 2, which will be InDesign and then some PBL stuff. So the big gain here is you have more time for Illustrator, and we have a reduction in the number of credentials that are serving as proof of learning for the course. For the newer people, if you were going to follow this, you know, strictly by the percentages, right? You would look at, there's 90 days in a semester. If you're smart, you're probably going to back 10 of those days off of there because you have 5 days for final exams. And then of course you have, you know, SAT day, and, you know, they get called down to the auditorium day. So I would pick a number that is closer to 80. And then if you multiply the percentage times 80 days, you'll wind up with how many days you should be spending on each particular unit. So for example, unit 4 is 10%. If you were going by 80 or 90, that would be 8 to 9 days that you would be spending on that unit. And I don't think I would be wrong to say that many of us are not, sticking rigidly to that, but you want to certainly use it as a guide. One of the things that's hot in all of North Carolina state government today is teaching to the standards. There may be even some legislation passed that's talking about the necessity of you teaching to the standards. So I always, of course, teach to all of them, but there's a lot of people veering off and sort of inserting other things into the classroom. And so that's one of the hot topics in the state legislature. So there are our standards. Any questions on that new blueprint? Again, the link is in the presentation. Honors level is available for this course in Wake County. You can see what we have for our honors level projects. Now I am going in as a part of a team to revise these over 4 days, but this is not a state level portfolio, right? Each LEA is deciding what would make that course honors. It's supposed to be a 20% delta and not just more of the same projects. So we've included a portfolio, which is, is a must, even if it's not an honors level. We have a local Wake County project that the students were working on to promote something at the county level. And then probably the biggest one, which was a real challenge this last year, is we asked the students to identify their own business or community organization, such as a nonprofit, to meet with them, to identify what products they're going to create, get feedback, and then eventually go ahead and, present those products to the company or organization. So that's what we do in Wake County. Wake County as our honors. And then under advanced studies, some people have asked, how do we make advanced studies honors? And again, we decided for our Adobe classes that we would ask them to either document their advanced studies by creating a little print or video documentary, or creating some training materials using screen capture software. And we thought that they were both nice ways for the advanced studies kids to either help promote the advanced studies or definitely to demonstrate the technical skills. Questions on that? If anyone wants a link to that portfolio, just let me know. All right, online design alternatives. Hopefully we won't get in this world again. And I know the virtual machines worked pretty well for visual if you had them. I will point out the two best ones for me were Gravit for base Illustrator stuff. We couldn't do some of the advanced stuff, but we could do a lot of the foundational stuff. And then if you don't know Photopea is as close as I've found, perhaps other than GIMP, but Photopea works in the browser, and I'm finding like an 85% correlation to Photoshop in this online browser version. There are some things that are different, but most of it mirrors near identical. Does anyone have any other great online design alternatives that you might feel are really appropriate for Photoshop or Illustrator?
I use Pixlr for Photoshop skills. It's web-based.
Yep, Pixlr is a good one too. I think Pixlr is a lot more towards photo editing, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and that's a good one as well. It doesn't mirror closely, but you can do a lot of really cool stuff in there. Hopefully we won't be in that boat this year.
Also, I use Boxy SVG for Illustrator. Boxy SVG.
Nice.
Okay.
The big challenge with these was Chromebooks, right? So
yeah, all we had was Chromebooks.
Yeah, so having those software alternatives that function in the browser and a Chromebook became very important, and hopefully we don't get there again. All right, this was one of the things that was brought up earlier, and especially in my video class, this works so well. The beginning of the year, I seat students in learning teams. Oftentimes, I'll let them sort of gravitate towards people they want to work with. I will identify them as a team. I will have them create a team name. I will put pictures up on the wall, so when admin comes in, I can point and refer to learning teams 5 or 6 times because it is part of the evaluation instrument. But this is also where they help each other. And you can rotate team leaders every couple of weeks if you want to. This is part of that Ask 3 Before Me. And in the video class, these learning teams, they plan and shoot videos together. They edit all of their own videos. 3 or 4 don't watch while the other one edits, but they plan together. They go outside of the class, wherever, they shoot all the footage together. And so it becomes really like a little production company. And then they wind up helping each other quite a bit on technical skills and feedback. So learning teams are a great thing for the Ask 3 Before Me, and having them create some little identity that, you know, they sort of feel like they're connected to some people. One of the things that I expanded this year with the pandemic was these sort of written design activities. I think I'm going to do a lot more in the beginning of the year this year in small groups or teams to get them to work together and to sort of break the silence. But one thing I found was it was a great supplement for the remote learning. And then a lot of them really enjoyed the sort of iterative process of going through and refining things on paper. And then in the end, I found that they looked really good in the portfolio as well. So, for example, week 1 is I pick a local coffee shop and I ask them to redesign that. By Friday, 20 different variations. Some are just symbolic, some are words, some are combos. And then if you can convert that when you're using Illustrator into the digital version of that, it looks really great in the portfolio. And so I started having them keep a design journal where there was a lot more written things in here. I even did things related to the principles and the elements of design and had them, instead of filling in worksheets, sort of creating visuals in their design journal. It worked very well. And then here's some examples of other unplugged activities. I find sometimes they just want to not be working as much on the computer. And so these are great little team projects, right? There's a new robotics company. Each team come up with 3 logo ideas, have them put their logos up on the board, and then, you know, present them. And it's worked it works very well. I didn't do a lot of this before the pandemic, but as we got through it and came back, I found that the students really enjoyed that. Projects, this is sort of, if you're using one of those structured curriculum, may not need as much, but there's basically 2 levels of projects that I work with, right? And there are links out to the videos for these Photoshop ones, and they're focused on a skill. And then after we get through all of the skill-based projects, then we do these open-ended projects that apply all of them. For example, the global ad project, they work in teams of 3. They got to design an ad for 3 different demographics, typically the US market, Hispanic market, and an Asian market. And then they have to figure out what appeals to each of those markets, colors, language, and of course they even have to translate and include some other languages on the ads. It's a real oversimplification to call it the Hispanic market because there's so many different subcultures, and the Asian market really is even more subcultures. So if they wanted to pick a particular company, well, that's a great one where now they're trying to integrate all of the skills into their project. One thing that I did this year, and I think I'm going to include, is every once in a while they want a little break of not having to create their own stuff. So this was one where I was like, okay, here's 5 tutorials. I want you to go out and pick 3 of them. They're really short. They can be done in a day. This comic book pop art poster is one of my favorites. And they could pick their own images, and then it really helped to bulk up their portfolio. So as a mental break, right, pick 3 of these. And then, of course, I have suggest your own if you want to find your own tutorial, or if they're a high flyer, they can go ahead and freely design. But this was a nice addition to help increase their skill level quickly, especially those who might struggle a little bit. It was a nice little confidence boost. I have a link in here to my choice board. This is just something that came about as the pandemic was happening. So if you're new, you might find some things that you would find handy in here, right? Here's all the geometrics, Adobe Help X stuff, some of the games. As you come down, you'll see Illustrator specific projects with guides, Photoshop specific projects and guides. InDesign is not as fully developed because we didn't really get to that so much last year, and additional resources. So this is a little matrix that has links out to a number of my guides. Here's the Bulls poster. And you might find that handy. I will keep adding to that for some of the new people. This is another concept that is in both of my Adobe classes, right? You don't want to do what I'm telling you? Pick something else. Tell me what you want to do, right? Anybody at any given time, any project we're working on, you can substitute it out if you have something else you want to do. And it leaves the door open for maybe your high-flying kids. And I got to tell you, not many take me up on it, even though I beg them to, because a lot of it is just tell me what I have to do to get to A. But if you do get those kids who are involved in a club, or maybe they're in a DECA, right? Anything that they can do to make that learning more real to them, as long as it's an equivalent, right? We can't be doing a major project and then they want to go ahead and do, put some text on a document and say I'm done, right? So, but it is in both my video and visual. You want to do something else? Is there something else that you can do to get some synergies, right? For another class, please do, and that's an ongoing option for them. This is something I came up with a few years ago. I normally say this for the end of the year, and I call this my design blitz. When they brought in the credentials for proof of learning, and I had a lot of kids that didn't need to prep for the multiple choice final, I came up with this. And it was basically, okay, now you have 5 to 7 days, and I want you to go out and then identify projects that you think you can do in 1 to 2 days. So these are meant to be visually dynamic, quick projects. And now they can go out and they can find techniques that they want to implement. So these are a lot of samples that I have on the sample sheet demonstrating a wide range of techniques. Pinterest is an absolutely amazing place to go for this. And then they have to hand in a sheet describing what they did. And so here are some of the student-based versions. So in 5 to 7 days, they're doing 5 to 7 projects of their choice. Now they can't leave saying they didn't get a chance to do what they wanted to. And it really helps build up their portfolio, and they can focus on being creative in a way that really makes sense to them. So when that was happening for the students that needed to study for the final, it really helped free me up to focus on those students. And so it's a very student-centered sort of intense product creation situation. My daughter made that one because she's a big Carolina Hurricane fan. So I love the design blitz as both a means to make it student-centered and give the students choice. And then there is a form here that they would fill out for each. So they're trying to identify what skills they had applied and a reflection for that as well. Here's all the fun stuff for those of you who are newer, right? The little games to help them learn about character formatting or using the pen tool or color theory. Those are the ones that I have found, and I try to integrate them. And I try to remember that as much as they may not excite me, because I've seen them every year for 15 years, for some of the students, they relate very well. Here's some generic sites that I found that you can go out and check out that have a lot of good info. And then my last slide is just a reminder that one of the greatest blessings we have in these classes is the ability to really connect with and get to know our students. And so for that reason, they can come in before school, during lunch, after school. Oftentimes I'll get a whole cohort that sort of make that their world. Always open for ideas, right? One thing I learned from Chick-fil-A is when they're working, you got to get around, and Chick-fil-A does table touches where they'll physically touch your table and ask you if you need a refill. So I'll go around and make sure that you do those table touches, and you connect with every kid, especially the quiet ones who may not ask you. When you're looking at something, another old leadership principle is say 2 good things and then offer them something they can improve on. And then sometimes for the ones who struggle the most, but I know have the potential inside of them, I spend a lot of time talking to them about, I could see how smart you are and how many skills you have. You got to be here in school. Or, and then, you'll see them sort of get a little wrinkled brow because they're not doing well, but yet you're telling them how good they can be. And so that is oftentimes a motivator, but more so than many other classes, we really have a great opportunity to connect with the kids, to get around and talk with them one-on-one, and to make them feel like they're not just being lectured to. So I know it's really quiet out there. That is sort of the overview from my point of view. Who would like to ask, add to, or anything else? Yes, this link is posted. My understanding is as soon as this session is over, that'll be made available to you. I'm looking up, I see for Beth. Yes, one of the things when we look at these curriculums is they almost all tie into a lot of the CTSO events, right? Whether it's marketing, print design, video design. Will we have when you say the portfolio, let me make sure I got it all. National Board Certification, would love to network Adobe Source certified. There we go.
They're asking about your portfolio, Dennis.
My honors portfolio?
Yeah, that's what they're asking about.
Okay. I'm going to throw a link out there to my Schoology page. My Schoology page was what I used to use for class before my county told me I couldn't use Schoology for class. Right now we can only use Classroom or Canvas. But this was a location where I was dumping a lot of sort of my master course location. And if you go to Schoology.com, I think during the pandemic, they restricted you from signing up as an instructor. But if you create an account, even as a student account, and then you join this course, that will have all of the information I've been talking about, including the honors portfolios. And I can also give you the direct link to what we use in the county. I think it's the updated one. I'll drop that right into the chat box. So this follows the format that the state document has up towards the top, and then all of the practical guides are down the bottom. There are things that you can add to this. You can require a resume, or you require they go out and do certain personality tests or job skill tests, but this was the simple 3 additional items that we came up with and felt like it was adequate. Let's see what else we got here. PowerPoint, got that.
Dennis, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Are you using a Mac lab or a Windows lab, or a combination of both?
Wake County stopped supporting the Mac labs, so the only people who still have them are the people who you're going to have to pry it out of their hands. I've always had a Windows lab. I will say that if you have a Windows lab, to me the most important thing is the amount of RAM. I actually just got a new lab at the end of last year. It was time for me to cycle out, and my machines went from 16 gigabytes to RAM to 32 gigabytes of RAM. And although it was never a huge problem for visual, Adobe Premiere Pro runs so much better with that additional RAM. So if you are getting a Windows lab, try to get them to give you way beyond the minimum system requirements for the RAM.
Yeah, I've been finding out about it because you look on the equipment requirement, the DPI website, it lists Mac computers, not Windows based, but you know, the money's the big thing when it comes to computers.
I had a slide in here that talked about the equipment, but it's really, there's no specialized equipment for this class, so I took it out. And if you attend the video presentation, you'll see there's a long list of equipment. I mean, for here, it's basically the computer that handles the minimum operating system requirements. But I'm telling you, the minimum is going to cause problems. If they're giving you laptops, again, my teacher laptop handles all my software great. But the single greatest factor is getting beyond the minimum RAM requirements, or it causes a lot of issues. I'll tell you another problem in the video class, more than this class, is again the student storage. Every time there's a problem and they're getting kicked out of the Adobe software, first place I go is their student storage, and it's redlined. And so the software doesn't have anywhere to work with the scratch disks or anything else. So if you have the ability to use Microsoft OneDrive or have them constantly uploading to their Google Drive, I might require flash drives again this year, even though they don't know what a flash drive is anymore. I may require them again. So they have to make sure that their storage on their laptop or other device or network storage is adequate. Yeah. We went through that whole thing with, we bought virtual machines, and everyone said, why don't you just buy them a laptop? And I think there are some pretty strict Perkins requirements that are involved in that, and CTE money. So yeah, we never got to that point. Tracy, that's a good point. We haven't really been able to use our cloud function that much, so we're operating from the student OneDrive accounts. But I'm finding that, especially in the video class, there's just not enough storage. So I'm going to try to get them to get 64 gig or 128 gig flash drives. Yeah, hard drives can work. They certainly have a lot more storage. And I used to have just a couple. It's the sharing of those, right? If you only have several, and the passing around. So whatever works for you locally. I guess the bigger point is storage. It can be an issue, especially in the video classes. I will say this, whatever philosophy you choose, whether you're able to get the paid curriculum, or if you choose something like looking at Emily's videos, or forget the other gentleman who posted his YouTube videos, and the more less structured independent projects, whatever you do, you know, you just got to have some fun with it, right? And you know, if whatever you're using, try to get the students to create things that they're satisfied with, right? That they're proud of. If I am using something structured, I still try to get them to make their own choices with images, so that in the end, if you walked around the room, Everybody's project still looks different, but they're using the same skill sets. But if you have fun with it, they're going to create stuff that they're proud of. If you help them prep for the credentials, most will have a lot of success with the credentials. Some will baffle you on how, you know, you did the same thing every day for 4 days, and on the 5th day, they can't remember it. But I think that's just a sign of the times. But if you put the time into it, I think it's fair to say that most of the students walk out feeling good about the course and about you. It is exciting. Yes. And again, I'll go back to, even if I'm teaching how to use the lasso tool and you've done it 20 years in a row, it's still their first time. So when they earn that credential, if you're used to them, you know, you really have to play it up a little bit. I make sure I call everyone up and you get their, you know, their 10 seconds of fame. And it really is exciting for them. And even if they create something that, you know, may not be where you want it to be, if they feel so proud of it, you know, you got to pump that up and then give them a few points on how they might make it better. But it really is, there's a lot of aha moments, and I think they're the best classes to teach. One other little random tip, talking about students getting excited. I've started buying these laptop water bottle stickers off of Amazon. You can get like 400 for like 12 bucks. It's pretty much replaced candy in my classroom, and they love those little stickers. Yes, posting student works, absolutely. Our fire marshal has been on us a lot about the percentage of walls that can be covered. So I've started doing minis, and basically I take whatever it is, whether it's an InDesign magazine article or a Photoshop project, I reduce them down to 4x6. I send them to Walgreens because I can get a 4x6 print for about 10 cents. And so I can put a whole class's projects up, not cover a lot of space on the walls, so the fire marshal's not unhappy in the hallway. And I could do it for like $3. So minis has been one of my ways of working around using a lot of toner and keeping the fire marshal happy. Heard a story that teachers will get a bonus for each student who gets all credentials. My understanding, Jennifer, of the bonuses is this. It existed 2 years ago. It went away as part of the pandemic, and I have not heard anything about it coming back. But prior to the pandemic, the year prior, you got $25 for each student who got a credential up to a certain amount. It was legislated, so it came from the state government. I have not heard anything about the credential bonus coming back. I hope it does, because each January or February, you got a nice little check. But I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know what hydro stickers are, but I'm looking it up right now. And I will be getting those. Oh, Hydro Flask, yeah. I think they're all in the same category, those stickers that can go on and then peel back off. And even the biggest, you know, toughest kid in the class who's like, oh, I don't want it, then he'll spend 20 minutes looking for the perfect one. So again, Marianne, I have not heard anything about the credentials returning. Save here and put it in the session. I will. Yes, I will do that. Let me write that down right now. Save chat and to. I have to see it. I may have to send it to someone downtown. I'm not sure if we're allowed to upload our own, but if we can, I certainly will. I think if I had a parting thing, I would say, you know, this is really a set of courses where you can customize it to your teaching style, your LEA, your students. And so, motivating students to prepare for credentials. Well, I would start by saying at no time do I start talking about it being optional or, it can't hurt their grade if they don't achieve it. But I certainly try to set that standard. I repeatedly tell them and then their parents when they're in, if there's one thing I want you to have when you walk out of this class, it would be that credential, because you can't put, I passed a final exam on your resume, right? But I'm in a fairly high achieving school, so I don't have a lot of experience with that. I don't know if somebody else has something they can add. Yeah, that's the big one, right? If they get those 2 credentials, that's their proof of learning. There is no state final exam anymore. So taking the 2 credentials, if they achieve them, that serves as proof of learning. And if they don't achieve them, there's probably going to be a local decision made. We've been encouraged to have a final project, or it could be a teacher-made test. But if they get those 2 credentials, you'll log into your NCCTE admin site and you'll put them in, and that serves as them passing the final. So we see some other things, right? We have certification test counts as 2 test grades. In my county, we've been told that it can't penalize the kids, but yes, sometimes I'll say it will replace a lowest grade, being sure they know it's not a 0, right? That doesn't mean they don't have to take a test. Final exam. How do you encourage freshmen? Whether so it doesn't really expire, right? The expiration is built to try to keep that revenue stream. But honestly, if you had a Photoshop Photoshop 6.0 credential and a Photoshop CC 2021, 80% of those skills are still the same. So it's still demonstrating that they had the ability to achieve a certain technical skill at a certain point in time. And so even though Adobe says it expires, I think it's still incredibly valuable on the resume. Yep, they have the Adobe badges. And I don't know if you all saw when they were talking, they've changed the badging a little bit to make more combinations to get more badges, right? It used to be if you got Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, you got Visual Design Specialist. And now it's like if you get Photoshop and Illustrator or InDesign, you get this particular badge. And so they've expanded the badging quite a bit. I think one of the challenges that I run into is sometimes the version that we're using in the classroom could be different than the version that they're using at home. I'm assuming it's the same in other LEAs, that the students can download a version of the software at home through their Adobe account. Not so much a problem in visual design, but in video design, if they work at home in a newer version and then they come in and the ones loaded in my lab are older, there are compatibility issues. But they should be able to download this software if they have a system that can handle it at home through the Adobe account that's provided through your tech services. Great point, Pam. I bought one to take in last year, the high-end one, and then we never came back. But if you get the opportunity to get a Cricut, not only that, but you can make a custom T-shirt in 5 minutes. I also have a heat press. You can get a nice 11 by 17 heat press for about $200 these days. And so, yes, the cricket was going to be a way for me to try to get them to have some more fun and be more excited. And I didn't get to fully explore that. But you can do, you can buy the sticker paper. They can create glasses. And I've been making a lot of my own T-shirts. You need admin permission to get a cricket. Is that what you're asking, Odena? So I bought the cricket myself. I don't know that it'd be approved through CTE. That would be a local decision. It's not on the equipment list. You might be able to get your school to buy one for you, but it was a great investment. Pam's bringing up the honor students get to make shirts. One of the things I would, if I get a chance to be a part of the level 2 curriculum team, is certain curriculums have a enterprise component built into it. So for example, in the apparel class, the apparel 2, I believe, they were able to make and sell some things. I think that would be an excellent thing to be have it as an option for these design classes. So it is something I would love to explore. So admin permission for the students to download the Adobe software on their home computer. That's not a thing in my LEA. All they need to do is type in whatever Adobe credentials that you're given. And so they're allowed to have an individual copy as long as their machine can handle it. It did not require admin permission in Wake County for the students to download the software. At school, the students can't download anything, but at home, they should have been able to. Once again, I would say I know that I don't have all the answers, but I have been around these classes since the beginning. I was able to go downtown, and so I do still have some connections. And so I feel like, I can help. I don't mind at any time during the school year if anyone emails me for any reason whatsoever. And if you put the time in to get your technical skills in your class where you want it, they're great classes to teach. I see a few people typing. We'll see what they have to say. And absolutely, good point. Make sure you know what versions you're loading. For me, Kevin, that's been one of the frustrations is in my classroom, tech services has been controlling all of that. And so we've had some issues. Yep, George brings up the good point. In order to download, the school should be providing the students with their Adobe ID, and they should need that to log in at school at times. But that's also how they go through the Adobe Creative Cloud at home and use that same ID to log in to their personal devices. Yeah. New people, reach out to someone in your county, the Moodle, me, all right? Don't sit out there spinning your wheels. And that's it. I mean, let's pray that we all make it back to school. We know that teaching these classes in school are so much more productive. Jason, the only other one that I'm doing is Premiere Pro best practices at 1 o'clock today. It sort of mirrors this, but obviously the content is different. And if you're not teaching the video course, don't be afraid of it. It's a great course to teach. Currently, there's only one piece of software in there. And so you have a lot of time for the students to work and create. And so it is a great compliment. Love it. I'll hang out for anyone else who wants to talk. Otherwise, I appreciate you all, and just reach out and we'll figure out how to help whoever with whatever needs you might have. Thanks, George. Thank you all. Thank you. Pleasure to serve y'all. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy those last couple weeks. Thanks, Mark.
Dennis, it
Right.
reminds me of Zoom at the end of the school. Everybody wants to chat. Nobody wants to talk.
Right? And you're just begging. You're like, somebody, please. You got that one kid who kept his camera on all semester, and they save you in every class. And all the other kids are like, what's wrong with them? And then just like, thank you, somebody.
But yeah, thank you. Nicely done.
I think we're gonna have to spend a lot of time getting them back to talking in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they might. I've been researching how to do a little online model in the class, so that that they can still have that component of the. What made me think about it was if you've ever seen anyone do the Minecraft education.
Yes.
So that they're sitting all in the room as real people, but then they're also all together in this virtual world.
Yeah.
So,
and I know through Google Classroom, it also takes attendance when you get them to log in there. So that's a helpful feature as well.
Yeah. Well, yes, thank you, and we'll see you at 1.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.